In this video, we're going to take a look at how former NFL quarterback Brett Favre embezzled millions of dollars from a welfare fund to build a new state-of-the-art volleyball facility for his daughter Breleigh to play at while she was in college. He admits to taking the money, but denies knowing that it came out of the state's welfare system that was intended to help families living in poverty in one of the poorest states in the nation. However, we are going to look at his text messages and you can decide if you think he knew. Just my opinion. I think he did. I'm so incredibly excited about this story and have actually been working on it for a couple of weeks. This is actually the second time that I'm filming this video because the first time I just felt like I didn't do it justice. So this is part 3 of my Mississippi Welfare Embezzlement Scheme series and the first of my videos to focus on Brett Favre specifically. Today we are going to look at the construction of the volleyball facility at his alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi. We are also going to look at some text messages that have recently surfaced between Brett Favre, Nancy New, John Davis, and Governor Phil Bryant. But first, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I highly encourage you to check out the first 2 videos in my series on the Mississippi Embezzlement Scheme. And I will link them in the description box below. To protect myself, I must say everything in this video is alleged. I got most of my research from Mississippi Today, and I have to give a shout out to Anna Wolf, who has done an excellent job in covering the story. So back to the story. I had this whole thing planned out on Brett Favre and his history and stuff, but we're just gonna scratch all that and jump right in. So the players in this part of the story, the first one is Brett Favre, and he's a pretty famous football player. He went to the University of Southern Mississippi on a baseball scholarship, but then later transferred to football. He ended up being an award-winning quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. And I'm not even going to go into the whole Minnesota Vikings thing, but I knew when he did that his character was at the very least questionable. So the next player we're going to talk about is John Davis. John Davis is the former director of the Department of Human Services for the state of Mississippi, but he was the director when all of this stuff happened. Nancy and Zach New ran the Mississippi Community Education Center, which was a nonprofit, and they are president and vice president of New Learning Resources, which ran 3 private schools in the state that offer services for children with autism and dyslexia. MCEC, or the Mississippi Community Education Center, and another nonprofit, Family Resource Center of North Mississippi, ran a statewide program called Families First of Mississippi, where the focus was on helping low-income families secure employment to support their families instead of being dependent on public assistance. So the last player we're going to talk about in this story is Governor Phil Bryant. Granted, his text messages have been subpoenaed twice, and so far he is trying to claim executive privilege to not have to turn his text messages over and make them public. And so we only have a few select text messages that he has chosen to release. So our story begins in December of 2016, and that's when conversations started between USM and Brett Favre about building a volleyball stadium. On December the 20th, Senior Associate Director of Athletics Daniel Feig wrote in an email to a colleague, "I had the impression that Brett wanted to keep his involvement quiet." Coincidentally, Breleigh Favre, which is Brett Favre's daughter, would start playing volleyball at the University of Southern Mississippi the following year. So he had to get that facility built. In April of 2017, Brett Favre texted Governor Bryant for help with the volleyball field. And Bryant responded that they would have it built before he knew it because he's good at raising money. So Favre asked Bryant to use his influence to raise money to build the volleyball facility, and Bryant responded, "I am all in on the volleyball facility. Y'all have fun, and next week come see me. We will have that thing built before you know it. One thing I know is how to raise money." Bryant argues that Favre was asking for private donations, but the evidence suggests otherwise. In May of 2017, the USM Athletics Department had raised $425,500, with $150,000 of that being Brett Favre's money. So MDHS Human Services writes a letter to Feig, the athletic director, and said that MDHS is aware that MCEC is leasing the space with the university because we believe that it is important to help MCEC accomplish the purpose of their subgrant, which is to provide services designed to stimulate employment, support family financial stability, promote literacy, and increase graduation rates while continuing to support positive youth development, impacting teen pregnancy rates, promoting positive father involvement, and supporting MDHS county offices through parenting education and parenting life skills development. While John Davis's name appears at the end of the letter, it is actually signed by MDHS attorney Garrick Shields, and this is the first reference to a lease agreement and emails between MCEC and USM Athletic Foundation. So there was so many people involved in this. On July the 1st of 2017, according to records, the university leased its athletic facilities and fields to the Athletic Foundation for $1, which made it possible for the foundation to in turn lease the facilities to News Nonprofit for $5 million. July the 16th of 2017, John Gilbert emails Nancy New that they have $1.2 million committed to the project, but the cost will be $4 million. So on July the 18th of 2017, Brett Favre met with Nancy New about funding the volleyball project. And this is according to MCEC's court filings. So the day after that, July the 19th, 2017, John Davis met with Phil Bryant about the projects that DHS had going on. Davis texted Nancy New, "Been with Governor for the last 2 days. He's loving what we are doing." The timing of Davis's text message is significant. While Favre and New were meeting to discuss MDHS funding for the volleyball facility, Bryant and Davis were meeting to discuss at length funding for various MDHS projects. So July the 21st, 2017, Brett Favre and Phil Bryant texted about the volleyball project. Screenshots of texts entered into court show Favre texted Bryant on the evening of July the 21st, but Favre's initial message and Bryant's lengthier response has been redacted. Favre did respond to Bryant's redacted message. "Not sure how you can help get this facility built for volleyball, but you are the governor and on our side, and that's a good thing. Actually, a great thing." "We can do that," Bryant responded. "Just get me some numbers and I'll find a way. Maybe USM or the coach can call me and we'll get on it." So the very next day, July the 22nd of 2017, Favre texts Bryant the construction proposal for the volleyball facility, and Bryant responds, "He's all over it." Bryant's text messages for the next 10 months are missing. Also, Bryant argues that Favre never mentioned public funds in any of his texts, but he didn't have to. Favre was meeting with people who handled public funds almost exclusively. Favre asked Bryant, who oversaw public funds, to use his influence. Favre then met with Nancy New, who handled public funds for MDHS, and subsequently met with John Davis, who was over MDHS. Then Favre received funds from MDHS for his volleyball project. So on July the 24th, 2017, Brett Favre, along with the Mississippi Welfare Agency staff members, met with USM athletic staffing to discuss the construction of a multi-million-dollar volleyball court that was to be located at USM. And they posed for a picture. This was Favre's first proposal to Davis regarding funding for the facility, but Davis, however, already knew about it because he had already met with Governor Bryant earlier in the week to discuss MDHS's projects. And Bryant had already known about the volleyball facility as well as Favre's request for help funding it. At the meeting with USM, Davis, the head of MDHS, commits $4 million for construction of the facility. And so Favre texted Nancy New after the meeting. "Nancy, thank you again. John," meaning Davis, the head of MDHS, "mentioned $4 million and not sure if I heard him correctly. Very big deal. Can't thank you enough." So July the 26th, just a couple of days later, Favre texts Nancy New and tells him that USM is uneasy about accepting the grant. He says, "Nancy, I spoke with John Gilbert this evening, and between you and I, he is very leery of accepting such a large grant. Got me very uneasy. He did mention trying to find a way for John Davis to allocate money to an entity that could then give to us that would pay for brick and mortar. I passed same info to John, and of course, he sent back, we will find a way to make it work." So on July the 29th, 2017, Brett texts Nancy, "Nancy, do I need to get the governor involved? And or Dr. B if need be. John made the comment about using money you allocated to athletic department thus far, and although signed off on by all, could raise negative concerns, etc. with this project and others." Favre texted Nancy New. My fear is he doesn't accept all that you and John can allocate, even if it is legally signed off on. It's obvious that you and John are tremendous assets for USM, and in order for us to get ahead in the game, we have to utilize you guys in every way. So Favre goes on to say, okay, I could record a few radio spots here initially, I'm sure right here, see how it is all received, and whatever compensation could go to USM. $4 million, Nancy New responded, followed by 3 emojis of a face wearing a mask. Just kidding. The first phase could be $500,000, and after September we can renew. This is a good approach. What do you think? Favre responds, was just thinking that this here's the way to do it. It is also included in a lawsuit between MCEC and MDHS that Favre texted New on July the 29th and asked, do I need to get the governor involved? So August the 2nd, 2017. John said you guys have a big meeting Monday with the university. Hope we hit a home run. Looks as though the facility is going to be more than we thought, which is always the case. Favre texts Nancy. Favre also texts her. They are scared to death, it seems. New's attorney said it referred to the university officials' fear about taking the grant money. So August the 3rd, 2017. Favre texts New and asks, if you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? This was followed by reassurance from New that those things wouldn't be made public. So I wonder why he was so worried about the media finding out if he didn't know where the money was coming from. A day later, New messages Favre to say that Governor Phil Bryant is on board. So August the 4th, 2017. Nancy New informs Brett Favre of Governor Bryant's support. Wow, just got off the phone with Phil Bryant. He is on board with us. We will get this done, Nancy New texts Favre. So Nancy New alleges in a court filing that around this time, Phil Bryant directed Nancy to give Brett Favre this money. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Nancy New and John Davis have actually already pled guilty to all this. So August the 14th of 2017, Nancy New met with the USM Department of Research about volleyball funding. August the 19th of 2017, Nancy New texts Brett Favre an update about approval. Morning, I got a call yesterday from Gordon Cannon that their meetings went well on accepting the money, etc. Next Wednesday, there is another meeting with MDHS attorney and USM to make sure all the wording is good before it goes to IHL, which is the Institute of Higher Learning. Still keeping my fingers crossed. I still think it will happen, Nancy New texts. Thanks, Nancy. John Gilbert said the same thing yesterday, Brett Favre responds. So Brett Favre obviously knew where the money was coming from. So September the 8th of 2017, Zach New sends USM Athletics and General Counsel the nonprofit's plans for the lease, and he also sends an email to FIG and USM Counsel Truett Roberts outlining several events MCEC claimed it would be hosting at the university as a result of the $5 million lease. The events include yellow ribbon events meant to assist members of the National Guard and Army Reserves, MEMA reservist trainings, M Club events, healthy teen rallies, youth leadership camps by Heart of David, which is the Christian ministry started by former WWE wrestler Ted DiBiase, and other Families First programming. So when Mississippi Today requested all the records from the university in 2020 for all of the events that have been hosted on campus by MCEC, they provided records of exactly one event, which was a Healthy Teens Rally in 2018 at the Reed Green Coliseum, the basketball coliseum. So in October of 2017, the funding for the volleyball facility was finally agreed upon. So the way they played it was like this. Since the use of welfare funds for brick and mortar construction is not allowed, the parties involved came up with an agreement that would satisfy federal law. The Southern Miss Athletic Foundation agreed to a 5-year lease agreement in which Nancy New's foundation would pay $5 million to rent all the athletic facilities. As part of this deal, the foundation would use the facility for programs to help needy families. However, this was never done. Notice how the price has already went from $4 million to $5 million. In order for the facility to get the approvals it needed, they had to add $500,000 for renovations to the basketball coliseum and another $500,000 for maintenance. The first lump sum of $2.5 million was to be paid to USM by MCEC in November, and another $2.5 million was to be paid in December. all upfront for these leases because USM has a policy that they cannot begin construction on any building until all the funds are in place. There was also a side deal, as Favre suggested. Favre was paid $500,000 to advertise for the welfare program in 2017 and would be paid an additional $600,000 in June of 2018. I assume the money was expected to go toward the volleyball project, but I don't think it did. So $6.1 million was agreed to be taken away from needy families in Mississippi to support the construction of a university volleyball facility, where it just so happened that Brett Favre's daughter was playing volleyball at the time. November the 2nd, 2017. Nancy New told Brett Favre that she saw the governor. "I saw the governor last night. We will still plan the fundraiser as well when we can get another date from him that works with your time too. Surely Southern folks won't say to postpone it again. At any rate, it's all going to work out," Nancy New texted Favre. So on November the 6th, 2017, Nancy New made the first payment of $2.5 million to the USM Athletic Foundation. Then December the 5th of 2017, Nancy New made a second payment of $2.5 million to the USM Athletic Foundation. So on December the 27th of 2017, Favre texted Nancy and thanks him for his first $500,000 payment. "Nancy, Santa came today and dropped some money off. Thank you, my goodness, thank you. We need to set up the promo for you soon. You're way too kind." March 28th of 2018, Favre texts Nancy stating that the lowest bid was $6.9 million for the facility, but they were going to try to get it down. She said she would be thanking and hopefully there would be something in the new budget that Families First can offer. That was in her text. That's where the money was coming from. April the 19th, 2018. The staff in the athletics department at USM shared an updated donors list that included 23 donors for a little over $6 million. An entry was listed for CMEC for $4.4 million, which is assumed to be MCEC, and it was just a typo. The email also stated that Favre's original donation of $500,000 was to be reduced to $250,000, with the other $250,000 going to the beach volleyball program. Coincidentally, the following year, his daughter Breleigh switched to beach volleyball. In June 2018, construction of the volleyball facility, known as the Wellness Center, began and was projected to cost $6.1 million. On June 21st of 2018, WDAM reported the following. The center will serve as the practice playing home of Lady Eagles volleyball, including locker rooms and training and meeting rooms. In partnership with the nonprofit MCEC, the facility also will be converted for use for university-affiliated and community classes, meetings, camps, seminars, and other events. And get this, USM also received gift-in-kind donations of material and labor from businesses for the project. And while that sounds all fine and good about all the events that MCEC would be hosting there for $5 million, as I said earlier, Mississippi Today requested a list in 2020 of all the events that MCEC had held on campus at USM, and only one event was listed, the Healthy Teens Rally in 2018, and that was hosted in the Coliseum. So this is where I'm going to end this video. Y'all stay tuned for the second part of the Brett Favre scandal because it doesn't stop here. And it'll also be part 4 of my video series on the Mississippi welfare embezzlement scheme. So far, what do y'all think? Did Brett Favre knowingly take over $5 million from the welfare funds in one of the poorest states in the nation to build his daughter an elite volleyball facility to play at while she was in college? I think he did. What do you think? My name is Jessica. If random news and current events are your thing, then I'm your girl. Like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Thanks for watching. Bye.